Shalom, this is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet Good Torah. Today we're going to talk about the Parsha of Korach and how he rebelled against Moshe and Hashem. And most importantly, we're going to talk about Shalom Bayit, peace in the home, and exactly what it means to have Shalom, peace between a husband and a wife. So let's start a little bit about what Shalom Bayit is. So it says in the Gemara, I believe it's in Brachos, Gemara Brachos, and it says that a person has a dream about a river, a kettle, and a bird will have peace. So Rosh Hashiva Aaron Feldman, he wrote an amazing sefer on this Gemara, and then there's also the Vilna Gaon's explanation, the Perush, the explanation on that Gemara. So in brief, there's three levels of Shalom Bayit. There's three levels of peace between a man and a man and a wife. So the first is the river. So the river is the level where just the husband and the wife, they speak nicely to each other and they're not fighting with each other. And that's the most basic level. And that's the level of two people living across from each other. There's a river in between. And they wave hello every morning. They say, how's it doing? How are you doing? And they don't fight with each other. And that's the level of the river. The next level, which is higher, is the level of the kettle. So a kettle stands between the fire and the water inside the kettle. And then it heats up the water, and then you can have nice tea or a coffee or a soup or whatever you want with the hot water. So that's the level where the husband and the wife, they work together to fulfill all the physical needs of the world. So they're both working to make money and to raise the children and to create the physical things that a person needs to do in this world, to have a home, to have clothes, to get food. And then the highest level is the level of the bird. It flies in the sky. And this is where the husband and wife are working together to do spiritual things. So they're learning the Torah, they're teaching the children Torah, they're doing the mitzvos. And that's the highest level. And so a great couple of Shalom Bayit, they'll have this piece of the river, the kettle, and the bird. All right, so we're going to talk about today about a man, Korach, and how his wife didn't help him, or actually helped to corrupt him, and he led this rebellion. And then we're going to talk about a holy tzedekis, the wife of On Bain Peles. So I'd like to dedicate today's shir to my wife, Bracha Chamuda, and away we go. So who was Korach? So Korach was actually the first cousin of Moshe, of Moses, and Aaron, of Aaron. So Moshe became the leader of the whole Jewish people, kind of like a king, and then Aaron was appointed Kohen Gadol, and he handled all the spiritual activities that went on, the avoda that went on in the Mishkan, which was the movable temple, the tabernacle, through the 40 years in the Midbar. So Korach, he was a Talmid Chacham. He was very learned in Torah. He was very smart. He was very intelligent. He actually became very wealthy because he was the treasurer for the Paro, for the Pharaoh in Egypt, and Korach was actually the treasurer. So it started a long tradition of Jewish people being appointed to be a head of treasuries, which we see in this country with the Federal Reserve. And I don't know if this is always a great thing, because it leads to a lot of anti-Semitism and all that stuff. Okay, but we won't go into that. But anyway, Korach was the treasurer. He saw where the riches, all the gold and silver that Joseph had accumulated during the years of the famine, when Egypt sold the grain to all the world, all the nations of the world. So he knew where that wealth was, and the rest of the Levium, the rest of the tribe of Levi, they were very poor. They weren't enslaved when they were in Mitzrayim in Egypt, because they just sat in the yeshiva and they learned, and because of them just dedicating themselves to the Torah, they weren't enslaved like the rest of the tribes. But when everyone came out, Hashem paid back the 11 other tribes with great wealth of silver and gold, and the tribe of Levi themselves, they didn't come out with wealth. And Korach, though, he was a member of the tribe of Levi, and he came out with a tremendous amount of wealth because he knew where all this treasure was. Okay, so he had great intelligence, and there's three great taivas, the desires that drive a person. A person has a taiva for strength, to be physically strong. A person has a taiva to be very smart, and a person has a taiva to be very rich. And these three desires, these three taivas can really lead a person astray. They can unfortunately, they could lead a person to avera, to sin, and all the things that are not so great. So we're going to see how a great wife can protect you from all these things, even from being swallowed up in the ground. So let's look a little bit how Korach's wife led him astray. So There's a Gemara in I think Sanhedrin, and I think it's Rabbi Bechia that brought this down. That there's two extremely wealthy people. One was Jewish and one was not Jewish. One was a Gentile, and they listened to their wives and they were destroyed. And they lost all their fortune. So the Jewish person was Korach, whose wife inspired him to rebel against Moshe, and the non-Jewish person was Haman, who listened to his wife to build a gallows 50 amos high for Mordecai, and he didn't realize that he was actually building a gallows for himself. So both of those people were given bad advice by their wives, and they were led astray. So let's see what happened. So Korach was first cousins with Moshe and Aaron. He was very jealous that they were the leaders of the Jewish people, and he was a holy person. He saw through Ruach HaKodesh that Shmuel Hanavi, one of the holiest prophets of the Jewish people, who would go on to appoint the first king of Israel, Shaul HaMelech, and would appoint the second king, David HaMelech, King David. So he was an extremely holy person, and there's even a pasuk that compares Shmuel and his generation to both Moshe and Aaron in there. So it's incredible, the spiritual level of Shmuel Hanavi, of Shmuel the prophet. So Korach was having a conversation with his wife. And Korach's wife said, "Which halacha did Moshe teach you today in the Beis Midrash, in the yeshiva?" And Korach said, "He taught us the laws of tzitzit. So wearing knotted strings, of which one is techeles." So Korach's wife says, "What's techeles?" So Korach says, "Moshe said, attach strings to your garments, of which one must be blue wool, and dyed with the blood of the creature, the chilazim." So Korach's wife said, "See what silly laws he teaches you? Why should you have only one techeles string attached to your garment? I can make you a garment that is completely techeles. It's all blue." So this provided Korach with an idea for opposing Moshe. So then Korach went around and he started creating this machlokas. So the first he did, he went around and he said, "Why should only the Kohanim? Why should only they serve in the Mishkan? Like all the tribes are holy, all the Jewish people are holy. Everyone should be able to serve." Now, what Korach really wanted is he wanted to be Kohen Gadol. And then another thing he did is he went to the tribe of Reuven. He lived right next to the tribe of Reuven. And he said, Reuven was the Bechor. Reuven was the firstborn. And it used to be that Reuven, brought all the offerings. So why should the tribe of Levi bring all the offerings when it was really Reuven that used to bring all the offerings? Now, it's true, Reuven, the Bechor, used to bring all the offerings. But Reuven, unfortunately, he lost this honor when they had the whole machlokas with all the brothers against Joseph. And then because the tribe of Levi came to Moshe's side during the incident of the golden calf, the tribe of Levi was elevated from that point on to special service, to special avoda to Hashem. And then even more elevated became Aaron's family, who became the Kohens. And they served in the Mishkan and then eventually in the Beis HaMikdash, in the two temples. Now, what quality did Aaron have? He had the quality of peace. He was considered a Rodev Shalom. And Aaron was someone that avidly went out and tried to make peace between husbands and wives and friends and relatives and all the tribes of Israel. And that's the quality you need to be the spiritual leader of the Jewish people. To be the Kohen Gadol, you have to be someone that goes out and tries to make peace between people. Whereas Korach, who wanted to be Kohen Gadol because of his own gaiva and his arrogance, he only cared about his own personal, stature. And it's really the quality he needed was to make peace between people. So Korach gathered and he convinced 250 people to follow him. He convinced Dasan and Abiram, who they were Rishayim, so they didn't need much convincing to join in this rebellion against Moshe. They were rebelling constantly against Moshe. We see it at the splitting of the Yam Suf at the Red Sea, that they were already rebelling against Moshe. And Moshe devised a test. He said, we're going to see who's really the Kohen Gadol. So only the Kohen Gadol is allowed to offer the Ketoras, the special incense that's offered in the Mishkan, on the golden altar, on the golden Mizbeach Chazakav, and that was also offered on in the Beis HaMikdash in the temple. So only the Kohen Gadol can do this special avoda of the Ketoras. So if you say that you all can be the Kohen Gadol, you bring your own fire pan with the Ketoras. And the one catch is that the true Kohen Gadol that's picked by Hashem, he will live. But it's forbidden for anyone else to do this avoda, and anyone else, it's actually, I think it's a lo taseh. I think it's actually one of the mitzvahs that says not to do this. There's a mitzvah not to do this, and anyone that's not the Kohen that does this will die. It's chayav misa b'dei shemayim, b'dei b'yadei shemayim. He is liable to death by the hands of heaven. And they had this big contest, and Aaron HaKohen, he survived because he was the Kohen Gadol, and the rest of these 250 followers, they died. They perished in this test. Now then, Hashem wanted to make it very clear that rebellion against Moshe was forbidden, because this led to all the breakaway movements throughout thousands of years of Jewish history. Because Korach rebelled against Moshe and said that Moshe wrote the Torah and it wasn't from Hashem, it wasn't from Shemayim. This is what all the people that misled Jews away from the Torah and the mitzvahs, they used this, and they would deny that the Torah comes from Hashem. So let me see if I can find this real quick. So after the test, Moshe was very upset with Dasan and Abiram's reaction to his message. Moshe tried to make peace, and he tried to bring peace after all the people died in the test. But he says, "You know the truth, Hashem, that I never established myself as a king over them." As they say, oh, by the way, we're using the Midrash Says by Rabbi Moshe Weissman. It's an amazing sefer. It's on each book of the Torah, all 5 of the sefers of the Torah, and has all kinds of midrashim from all different midrashic sources. So he says, "You know the truth, Hashem, that I never established myself as a king over them, as they say. A king taxes his subjects, where I do not even accept a salary for my work in the Mishkan or behalf of the community. Neither do I ask people to reimburse me for any expense I incur on their behalf. When I rented a donkey to travel from Midian to Mitzrayim to Egypt in order to redeem the people, I was entitled to ask for reimbursement, but I paid with my own money." So Moshe is trying to beseech them and saying that he's never taken a salary. Hashem picked him to be the leader. Now, because it's so dangerous, because Moshe is the person that received the Torah from Hashem, so to rebel against Moshe and the Torah is very dangerous, and this created so much strife for the Jewish people over thousands of years. So Korach tried to get everyone really riled up to rebel against Moshe, and he went to the tribe of Reuben and said, why are you guys not making? Why did you not make the first offering? Why did Nachshon ben Aminadav, who was the Nasi, the prince of the tribe of Yehuda, why did he make the first offering? When all the Nasiim, when all the princes brought their offerings. And the Torah says that from Yehuda will come the kings, and that's where David HaMelech, King David, is descended from. So Nachshon Aminadav was a very holy tzaddik, and he was the first one to jump into the Yam Suf, the first one to jump into the Red Sea, which caused it to split. And it wasn't, as Korach claimed, just because that his sister Elisheva was married to Aaron HaKohen. So you see how people try to stir up all these things. So then Moshe said, Moshe said that everyone needed to move away from the tents and touch nothing of theirs. And Moshe turned to Hashem and he prayed. He said, "I ask you, God, to punish these Rishayim with a death unique in history." And Moshe said to Hashem, "What do you want me to do?" Master of the universe, Rabbono Shel Olam, says, "If you have created an entrance to Gehenna where these people are standing, well and good. If not, I ask you to perform a miracle. Move the opening of Gehenna to beneath their feet and let them be transported there alive. Then it will be evident to all that they have blasphemed Hashem." So this is so strange because Moshe was always seeking mercy, rachamim, for sinners. Here he's praying to Hashem to punish Korach and his followers with an immediate, unusual death. So the following mashal explains why this such drastic and a move uncharacteristic of Moshe, that he was asking for Hashem to punish these people in a miraculous way. So the princess's wedding celebration was underway. The bride commanded universal respect and esteem because it was well known that she was very chaste, she was pure and beautiful. And suddenly there was a demigod who climbed upon one of the tables and began shouting. He said, "You are all speaking highly of our bride, our Kala, because you think she is respectable, Basula, a respectable maiden. If you want to know the truth, listen to me. I could tell you stories about her that should not be mentioned in public." And the audience was shocked. Instantly, wild rumors began to circulate, and whispers turned into raised voices. The matchmaker, who knew the princess well from her youth, realized that the defamer was only attempting to draw attention to himself and incite the people for his own purposes. So the matchmaker demanded of the king, "Have this man, who you brazenly slandered the princess, beheaded this very instant. If you don't order his immediate execution, I will second his accusations." The king thought If I delay the defamer's execution, people will believe that his accusations are true. So Moshe said, unless you, Hashem, punish Korach and his supporters instantly, I will also support his claim. By publicly ridiculing Moshe, Dasan and Aviram had brought the Torah, the king's daughter, the princess, into disrepute. And Korach claimed that some of Moshe's statements were not of divine origin, but of his own creation. Had these defamers gone unpunished for even a short time, their apicorsis would have spread to the rest of the people. And we see, unfortunately, through thousands of years of Jewish history, that many people have led the Jewish people astray with their groups and their movements, and they've led people away from the Torah mitzvahs. And their central claim is that the Torah is not from Hashem, that it's created by maybe Moshe or people. So Hashem did this incredible miracle, and he opened up the ground, and it says that this hole to Gehenna is one of 10 things that Hashem created before the world was created. But the great thing that Hashem also created was teshuvah, and that a person could return to Hashem even if he made drastic mistakes. And the sons of Korach did teshuvah as they stood there, and the hole opened up beneath them, and they were saved. And from them, and from those holy men that did teshuvah, came Shmuel Navi, and came amazing Levium, and amazing people that helped Klal Yisrael over the years. Now, that's a wife that can lead someone astray, but let's read about a holy Eshes Chayil, a great wife that can save her husband from this hole, from being swallowed literally into the ground. So On Bain Peles was another follower of Korach. On escaped death. He was a member of the tribe of Ruvain, and he was a neighbor of Korach's, and he was drawn into the rebellion. When On returned home from the first meeting, he related to his wife that he was taking part in a rebellion. Now she said something incredible, and I think this could really help people with the present political turmoil. It said, what do you gain by it? Your position will be the same. And she says, whether Aaron is the Kohen Gadol or Korach is the Kohen Gadol, she says, your life doesn't change at all. And he conceded the logic of her words, but he felt that he could not disengage himself from Korach's party. So she gave him a strong drink that put him to sleep, and she and her daughter uncovered their hair. And then the messengers came from Korach, and this is an incredible thing, and they were rebelling against Moshe. They were rebelling against the greatest prophet there ever was. They were rebelling against Hashem. But the sight of this pritzus, of these women who weren't tznius, who weren't modest, that had their hair uncovered, they ran away. Incredible, because people knew the Torah so well, and they were holy, but it shows how dangerous it is that we can be led to great destruction by our taivas, by our desires, and we should pray for a great wife that will keep us away from these dangers. So then this hole opened up, and On was sleeping in his bed, and his bed started moving towards the abyss, and On's wife grabbed the edge of the bed and prayed. She said, Rabbono Shalom, Master of the Universe, On has disassociated himself from Korach's group. He swore by your great name that he is not Korach's follower. If he ever transgresses his word, you can then punish him. So On was spared by his amazing wife, and therefore his wife said, now go to Moshe and apologize. I'm too embarrassed to face him, replied On. So On's wife then went to Moshe. She was bitterly crying, and she was relating what had happened to her husband. Upon hearing her report, Moshe walked to On's tent and spoke to him. He said, come out, may the Almighty forgive you. And for this, and for the remainder of his life, On did not cease from mourning and doing teshuvah for having one-sided with Korach. So it shows you one amazing thing, that there's been so much turmoil, and I've been so pulled into this too. I've been so pulled into this that people, in this last presidential election, like if the other person won, then the whole country is going to be destroyed, and everything would be destroyed, and only if their person won would everything be okay. But On, the wife of On Bain Peles, teaches us an amazing thing, that our life really doesn't change at all. At the end of the day, Hashem's running the world, no matter if this person's president or if this other person's president, and this could do amazing things, bringing peace between people if they would just realize that it's not always the leader that's so important, that Hashem's always the leader, Hashem's always running the world, and a great wife, like the wife of On Bain Peles, teaches us this amazing lesson. May we all merit to have amazing wives that keep us from danger, and may we all merit to have great Shalom Bayit, because without peace between us and our wives, we really can't accomplish anything. If anyone's ever fought with their wife, they know they can't get anything done, but with their wife's help, they can go on and accomplish great things in this world. So may we all be blessed with amazing Eshes Chayils, great wives, and very special thanks to my own wife, Bracha Kamuda. Have a great Shabbos. I hope you enjoyed it, and hope to see you back to Sweet Good Torah.